for analysis. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm SAHIH Samshuddin. Affirmative action policies should extend from race-based to need-based. Speaking in an exclusive interview on the CNBC Conversation last Friday, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said if the policies were considered to be too focused on race, it would create animosity and anxiety among the people.
We can't talk about pure meritocracy between rural heartland in Sarawak to the premier schools in Kuala Lumpur. So I think the same argument applies. But once it is considered to be too focused on race, then it creates this animosity and anxieties. But if you focus on the issue of need, justice as fairness, then we can proceed with these affirmative action policies.
He said this in response to anchor Martin Soong about Malay rights, entitlement and privileges. Taking the example of the new economic policy introduced by the previous government, the Prime Minister said the main criticism against the policy under the former regime has been to use it to enrich the children and their families. However, Datuk Seri Anwar said if the policies are, for example, to create new entrepreneurs, to provide good quality education for the poor, then it is not only tolerable but imperative. On another note, Datuk Seri Anwar has vowed to recover the money Malaysians are owed from the 1MDB money laundering scandal and said that he has not ruled out the possibility of a lawsuit against Goldman Sachs.
I've said before that we'll have to reopen this negotiation with Goldman Sachs because they were complicit to the crime. Unfortunately, they have not been too forthcoming. And we will therefore have no choice but to pursue this.
Goldman Sachs bankers were accused of helping a Malaysian financier plunder billions of dollars from the One Malaysia Development Berhad Sovereign Wealth Fund. In exchange for withdrawing criminal charges and waiving future charges against the bank, Goldman agreed in July 2020 to repay Malaysia $3.9 billion. Datuk Seri Anwar has disputed the amount to be paid to Malaysia, saying the payable sum is too small. The deal was brokered by a previous administration. Meanwhile, Malaysia and Indonesia should be able to complement each other on the global platform, particularly on electric vehicles EV. Datuk Seri Anwar said that has been the spirit of his conversation with Indonesia's President Joko Widodo, known commonly as Jokowi.
I would say is an important neighbour to us and a lot in common. We're working very well together, both in the government and private sector. And I think instead of being in a game of fierce competition, we should be able to complement each other. And if that has been the spirit of my series of conversations with President Jokowi and followed through by the industry.
Indonesia's officials have been reassuring the public that the country is not being overlooked by billionaire Elon Musk following his move to have a base for Tesla in Malaysia.
Supply chain in Malaysia.
Moody's Analytics reckons that the 4% growth forecast for Malaysia in 2023 is reasonable for countries in the region, although this will be at the lower end of Bank Negara Malaysia's estimated range. The central bank expects Malaysia to record slower growth, closer to the lower end of its growth forecast range of 4 to 5%. In its weekly highlight today, the analyst group said a resilient labour market and a pickup in tourism arrivals will boost spending. It believes the strength in the domestic market would be able to partially offset the slowing global growth, which is set to weigh on export demand. Moody's Analytics also said the second quarter gross domestic product GDP growth of 2.9% matches its expectations. While both exports and imports fell more than 9%, tourist arrivals buffered some decline in trade. Meanwhile, Kenanga Investment Bank Berhad said the economy is expected to return to moderate expansion in the second half of the year amid resilience of domestic demand as the labour market remains robust. Looking forward to 2024, it expects a more robust GDP growth trajectory of 4.9%, fueled by a more sustained global economic recovery next year. It added the government's commitment to pro-growth initiative is likely to persist, and the increased political stability following state elections could enhance confidence among foreign investors. Foreign investors continued their buying streak on Bursa Malaysia for the sixth consecutive week, with inflows amounting to 52.7 million ringgit last week. In its fund flow report for the week ended 18th August, MIDF Research noted that net buying occurred from Monday to Wednesday, with Wednesday recording the highest net foreign inflow at 106.4 million ringgit. However, the research firm said foreigners turned into net sellers by the end of the week, probably prompted by the release of two weak economic data points last week. Last Friday, the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry reported that Malaysia's total exports in July fell by 13.1% year-on-year to 116.75 billion ringgit, while total imports shrank by 15.9% to 99.66 billion ringgit. Malaysia's gross domestic product also grew at a slower than expected rate of 2.9% in the second quarter of this year. Year to date, MIDF Research noted that foreign investors have been net sellers of domestic equities at 2.41 billion ringgit. The top three sectors that posted net foreign inflows were property, technology and plantation. Meanwhile, the top three sectors with net foreign outflows were industrial products and services, healthcare and real estate investment trusts. BMI, a Fitch Solutions company, has revised upward its projection on total vehicle sales in Malaysia for this year to rise by up 3.8%, which in contrast to its previous forecast of a 9% decline. BMI said the revision was made following the better than anticipated pent-up demand for vehicles purchased during the sales tax exemption period. In a statement released today, BMI noted that it had previously expected demand to taper off in the second quarter of this year. However, it said data compiled by the Malaysian Automotive Association (MAA) shows that demand remained elevated throughout the first half of the year. The sales tax exemption lapsed on 30th June 2022, and there was a grace exemption period that lasted up to 31st March this year for cars which have been booked for purchase before the end of the sales tax exemption period. According to the MAA, vehicle sales rose by 12.6% year-on-year in the first 7 months of this year to reach 429,807 units versus 381,680 units over the same period in 2022. BMI also believe demand for electric vehicles (EV) will far outstrip that of internal combustion engine cars within its 2023 till 2032 forecast period. It said the total EV sales is expected to quadruple this year. The use of adhesive stamps or revenue stamps and postal franking machine as a method of stamping documents or agreements will be terminated beginning 1st January next year. The Inland Revenue Board (LHDN) said duty payers are only allowed to use revenue stamps for document or agreements sealing until 31st December. In a statement released today, LHDN advised taxpayers to use up any remaining revenue stamps in their possession. It stated that no refunds or cash substitutions are permitted for any unused revenue stamps. Applications for stamping and payment of stamp duty can be made online through the Stamp Duty Assessment and Payment System portal without having to attend the stamp duty counter. LHDN also said that Malaysian citizens and permanent residents who have an income tax file can register their stamp user ID, submit an assessment request and make a stamp duty payment online through the stamps portal. Meanwhile, individual tax file registration can be done through e-Daftar at the link shown on the screen. Shell Malaysia aims to fully enable its new mobile application Shell app, which is currently available at 650 service stations at all its 1,010 stations nationwide by the end of this year. Shell Malaysia General Manager of Mobility Seo Lee Ming shared that the new app is designed to enhance the fueling experience by enabling fuel purchases from the comfort of customers' vehicles.
But our target is all the Malaysian user or any above 18 Malaysia drivers who have a driving license are welcome to be our customers.
Seo informed that the new app is the first fuel payment app in the country that is protected by a 3D secure verification, which adds an extra layer of security to optimize a safer user experience against possible fraud and scam threats. She added the Shell app is also integrated with Bonus Link to allow customers to earn points from 3,000 merchants as well as redeem Shell exclusive rewards. Understanding the need for value for money customized deals and promotions, she noted that the app is able to curate a personalized offer based on customers' habitual preferences to enhance their experiences at Shell. The app is also able to track every spend and bonus link points earned, as well as allow customers to find the nearest Shell station with facilities and amenities. Coming up next, states urged to use same National Day's team logo. A team of investigators from Singapore is helping to retrieve voice recording data from the cockpit voice recorder CVR of the Beechcraft Premium 1 aircraft that crashed at Bandar Elmina on Thursday. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said the Air Accident Investigation Bureau faced difficulties in obtaining data from the CVR as it was badly damaged. Loke said the authorities managed to open the CVR and successfully remove the memory park component that contained the voice recording data from the plane.
Jadi memory plug tersebut telah pun dikeluarkan daripada recorder tersebut dan memory plug tersebut didapati bahawa masih dalam keadaan yang baik dan oleh sebab kita tak ada peralatan untuk retrieve data tersebut, data record tersebut. Jadi memory plug tersebut telah pun dihantar ke Singapura pada hari Ahad yang lalu.
Loke further noted that due to the imperfect condition of the CVR, he could not give an exact time frame because there were technical issues that had to be overcome by investigation experts. He said the investigation team is expected to issue a preliminary report within a month. Malaysia Tonight on TV1 will now conclude to give way to the 63rd edition of the International Al-Quran Recital and Memorization Assembly. Our bulletin resumes on MyTV's Berita RTM channel and also on RTM Click and our YouTube live stream.
76 minit tanpa henti, 76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise. Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam. Malaysia Tonight, 8:30 PM.
Welcome back. The investigation and efforts to gather the wreckage of the aircraft are being resumed by the Air Accident Investigation Bureau, AAIB. Shah Alam OCPD Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Iqbal Ibrahim said the AAIB's probe is also being assisted by a team of experts from the United States. The team from the US arrived on Sunday and went to the scene of the crash today, and they are estimated to be there within 7 and 10 days. Speaking at a media conference, Muhammad Iqbal said the investigation process will take some time as various small components are still at the crash site. The AAIB's investigation is focused on discovering the cause of the crash. Among others who will be at the crash site are a representative from the aircraft company and an insurance company from Singapore. He added the process to gather the wreckage of the aircraft will be completed by today based on the information received from the AAIB. Police will still be at the scene to monitor the location as we don't want any unauthorized activity or individuals at the scene. As preparations for the National Day celebrations 2023 go on smoothly and as scheduled, Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil has urged all state governments to adopt the official theme and logo introduced by the federal government. He said several Menteri Besars had expressed their willingness to use the logo and theme at the state level as well.
Semua negeri insya-Allah akan turut serta menggunakan tema yang sama. Ini adalah harapan kita. Masa untuk berpolitik telah tamat, PRN telah selesai. Jadi kalau satu ketika dulu kita kibarkan bendera parti, sekarang kita kibarkan bendera Malaysia. Jadi ini tujuan kita, tugas kita adalah untuk merapatkan silaturahim, mengeratkan hubungan sesama kita dan pupuk perpaduan.
In May, Fahmi announced Malaysia Madani Tekad Perpaduan Penuhi Harapan as the theme of this year's National Day and Malaysia Day celebrations and the Malaysia Madani emblem as the official logo. Selangor Pakatan Harapan PH Chairman Datuk Seri Amruddin Syari was earlier today sworn in as the state's Menteri Besar for a second term. Datuk Seri Amruddin took his oath of office before the Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, at Balarong Seri Istana Alam Shah. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim had announced during the polls campaign that Datuk Seri Amruddin would be nominated for the Menteri Besar post should PHBN win the polls. The Alliance won 34 of the 56 seats contested in the state polls on 12 August. Datuk Seri Amruddin retained the Sungai Tua State Assembly seat for the fourth straight time in the state polls with 19,678 votes. Also present at the swearing-in ceremony and presentation of appointment letter to the Menteri Besar were Tengku Permaisuri of Selangor, Tengku Permaisuri Nur Ashikin and Raja Muda of Selangor, Tengku Amir Shah. The Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, called on the new state government to immediately address all the concerns of the people, especially in terms of infrastructure and development. Sultan Sharifuddin said it was priority that the state government immediately address the problems, especially floods that frequently hit Selangor. The ruler said what would be the use of Selangor taking pride in the achievements of rapid economic progress, having the status of a rich state and recording the highest GDP in Malaysia if the basic needs of the people are not well addressed.
Cukuplah kita berpolitik. Rakyat dah penat. Kita pun dah penat dengar. Bangunlah ahli-ahli yang berhormat semua. Fikirkanlah masa depan negeri, negara dan masa depan anak cucu kita. Jadikan negeri Selangor ini hebat semula. Seperti mana pada zaman kewilangan negeri Selangor tidak berapa lama dahulu.
The Sultan decreed this after presenting letters of appointment to the Menteri Besar and the State Executive Council Exco during the ceremony at Balarong Seri Istana Alam Shah today. The Election Commission will hold a special meeting on Thursday to fix key dates for the Pelangai State by-election in Pahang. EC Secretary Dato' Ikmaluddin Ishak said the by-election was necessitated by the casual vacancy in the seat caused by the death of incumbent Datuk Seri Johari Harun on 17th August. In a statement today, Dato' Ikmaluddin said the special meeting will discuss important dates for the Pelangai State by-election, such as dates for issuance of writ of election, nomination of candidates, and the polling, the electoral rolls to be used, and other preparations for conducting the by-election. He said the meeting would be chaired by EC Chairman Tan Sri Abdul Ghani Saleh and a press conference would be held after that. The EC had been officially notified by Pahang State Assembly Speaker Datuk Sri Muhammad Shakar Samsudin over the Pelangai seat vacancy. Datuk Sri Johari was among the 10 people killed in the Elmina air crash last Thursday. To resume rice exports, that and more coming up in our foreign segment. Singapore, Indonesia and the Philippines are calling on India to resume exports of rice following New Delhi's decision to suspend shipments of non-basmati white rice abroad to help lower prices. Indian newspaper Min reported Singapore has requested some 110,000 tons of rice from India, with Indonesia intending to import 1 million tons of rice to alleviate disruptions in food market caused by bad weather, adding that the Philippines also relies heavily on rice supplies from India. Other countries and actors, including the United Nations and Bangladesh, have increased demand for rice from India. The UN World Food Programme recently asked the Indian suppliers for 200,000 tons of rice for humanitarian aid to improve global food security significantly harmed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine conflict. On 20th July, the Indian government announced that it suspended exports of non-basmati white rice to increase domestic supply and check market prices. The measure caused major disruptions to global food market since India accounts for 40% of global rice exports. At least 8 fighters were killed in Russian airstrikes early Monday targeting a rebel base in Syria's northwest. According to Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the Russian warplanes carried out airstrikes on the western outskirts of Idlib city targeting a military base belonging to Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham HTS. The HTS, led by Syria's former Al-Qaeda affiliate, controls swathes of Idlib province, parts of which form the last bastions of armed oppositions to President Bashar al-Assad's rule. An AFP correspondent at the site said the strikes, which came shortly after midnight, targeted an area on the outskirts of Idlib city near swimming pools. Syria's civil war broke out in 2011, and with Russian and Iranian support, Damascus has clawed back much of the territory it had lost to rebels early in the conflict. The war has killed more than 500,000 people and displaced millions. Progress in searching and clearing Lahaina, a hardest hit town in the deadly Maui wildfires in the U.S. state of Hawaii, remains slow despite plentiful efforts are being taken in the area. The town continues to grapple with the aftermath of the devastating fire that broke out over 10 days ago. Inside the fenced-off section of the heavily impacted area, the destruction caused by the fire remains severe, with no cleanup efforts initiated yet. However, the Federal Emergency Management Agency has taken action by deploying large-scale cleanup equipment since Thursday to clear the significant debris left behind. According to a report by The Hill on Sunday, Hawaii's Governor Josh Green said the search and rescue work is underway and rescuers have searched for 85% of the affected area. Access to the primary entrance of the heavily affected area is strictly regulated, with soldiers stationed to enforce the rescue department's orders. Next up in sports, Djokovic defeats Alcaraz to win Cincinnati Open. Novak Djokovic needed 5 match points and nearly 4 hours to pull off a gritty victory over Carlos Alcaraz and claim a third ATP Cincinnati Open title on Sunday. A titanic struggle between the world's top 2 players saw Djokovic save a match point before coming through on his own 5th match point for 5-7, 7-6, 7-6 triumph. It was another epic chapter to the budding rivalry between 20-year-old top-ranked Alcaraz and the 36-year-old Serb star, who avenged his loss to the Spaniard in a 5-set Wimbledon final last month. In the deciding set, Djokovic broke for a 5-3 lead, but would then squander 2 match points in the next game. The drama would continue when Djokovic missed and overhit for 5-5, and the players would ultimately arrive at another tiebreak, which Djokovic won on his 5th match point of the contest. The win delivered Djokovic his 95th career title and 39 Masters 1000 crown. The fight for the title of Athlete of the Year at the Sports Writers Association of Malaysia, or SAM 100 Plus Awards 2022 sees an interesting competition as it brings together a lineup of world champions who made the country proud on the international stage last year. Heading the list of 5 candidates for the title are Sportsmen of the Year, namely the country's leading men's badminton doubles pair, Aaron Chia So Woo Yek, who are also the gold medal winners of the 2022 World Badminton Championship. The world number 4 pair will be challenged by snooker champion Lim Kok Leong, bodybuilder Datuk Muhammad Sharul Azman Mahin Abdullah and gymnast Ng Jo Yi. At the same time, the competition for the title of Best Para-Athlete 2022 is also in the spotlight as it is lined up with powerlifting champion Bonnie Bunyao Gustin, badminton world champion Chek Lik Hao, Nani Shahira Zawawi Athletics and 2 swimmers Brenda Anela Larry and Carmen Lim. Both the 2022 Best Athlete and Best Para-Athlete winners will each receive a cash prize of 10,000 ringgit along with a trophy. In addition to recognising outstanding athletes who made Malaysia famous throughout last year, also to be celebrated at the award ceremony are sports journalists who have the opportunity to take home total cash prizes of more than 50,000 ringgit.
Tetapi kali ini kita adakan satu kategori khas iaitu pengulas sukan popular yang mana ianya bukanlah dinilai daripada segi hasil kerja tetapi populariti yang akan diundi oleh peminat-peminat sukan, penglibatan dari peminat-peminat sukan di luar sana. Kita akan buat undian menerusi dari laman sesawang.
Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh is expected to inaugurate the SAM 100 Plus Awards 2022, scheduled to take place on 29th August. Negeri Sembilan FC enjoyed a 5-2 aggregate win over Kelantan United after winning 4-2 at home at Tuanku Abdul Rahman Stadium. Negeri Sembilan did not have a good start with Kelantan import striker Jose Protera scoring early in the 3rd minute but managed to recover and equalise through a Casagrande header in the 7th minute. The home team then blazed ahead, adding 2 more goals, Barat Kumar scoring in the 19th minute and Myanmar import Hen Tat Ung finding the back of the net in the 34th minute before the end of the first half. In the second half, Kelantan managed to close the gap with a penalty by Indra Putra Mahyudin in the 64th minute, but Negeri Sembilan also were gifted a penalty by Yusof Izzajari in the 87th minute, which put the match out of their rivals' reach at 4-2. Negeri Sembilan will meet defending champion Johor Darul Takzim JDT in the quarterfinals. In MotoGP, Ducati's world champion Francesco Bagnaia produced a flawless display to dominate the Austrian MotoGP at Spielberg and take another step towards a second successive title. Bagnaia was in a class of his own with Brad Binder KTM a distant second and Marco Bizzecchi Ducati VR46 in third. For Bagnaia, this was a third dream double weekend of the season after winning both Saturday's sprint and Sunday's main event. Maximum points at the Red Bull Ring circuit in what was his 50th Grand Prix podium lifted him 62 points, clear of Jorge Martin in the 2023 standings with 10 of the 20 races completed. That concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, affirmative action policies should extend to need-based. Do tune in to updates at noon coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. Till then, I'm SAHIH Samsudin. Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan penuhi harapan. Thanks for watching.